Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tai Lu, the one, the only, everybody's favorite. And in today's video, we're gonna be talking about, as you could tell from the title, my struggles with death anxiety, how I overcame death anxiety, how I really overcame anxiety, like, period. I whooped her ass, but let's get into it, into this real, raw, transparent video. So, for starters, I am from Newark, New Jersey. Okay. That being said already, that's the hood. That's the ghetto. It's an urban city, right? I am no stranger to gunshot sounds. I'm no stranger to hearing how about people got murdered, how like I grew up sometimes in very tough areas and neighborhoods, and sometimes not so much. I'm from the south side of North South Side Jamaica, Queens. Like, no, I'm not from no South Side Jamaica, Queens, but that's just funny. That just came to my head. I'm a barb. Don't fight me. Don't fight me. But I grew up in the south side of North New Jersey, so that's fights. People come, people come in to fight my little brothers. They was always in like some. It was just my household and where I'm from. Shit was just always going on, like either amongst each other or somebody had beef outside and was coming for somebody. Like it was just always going on. So without sharing too much of my family business, because I do just feel like I will never ever in my life get on here and bash my family whatsoever, but just keeping it real with y'all about how I grow up, the people I grew up around. um I have three little brothers and I have an older sister, and then I grew up in a household majority of my life with them and my stepfather and my mom. So with that being said, and in my family, like that was the thing. Like we would go to houses, whatever the case may be, visit family, but this was still in the hood. Like, so just bringing that background up, I'm from where it's a little tough, it's a little rough, um, where there's fights and there's shootouts and like. Just to give examples, like I remember I used to go to Belmont Rand, and it was literally a drive by, so we all had to leave early, and we had to be walked home by like mentors. I remember that because while we were walking home, I heard gunshots, and my sister was like, calm down. I don't want you to pass out." Like, hello, that's where I'm from. I'm from where somebody got stabbed outside of my building, like right in the front of the building that I was in. I have I have lived, and none of this is funny. I just feel like I'm a bubbly, excited personality. So if that's triggering you in any way, I'm sorry. And then also, humor is a way that people cope with their very traumatic experiences. I don't want nobody pitying me or feeling sorry for me. People go through worse. But again, going back to the title, this is how I deal with these things. But I can't talk about how I deal with them unless I give y'all the picture of like, okay, this is where the root of this is kind of coming from. Also, I have my own theories of where I get my death anxiety as well, or where it comes from, like generationally, and just like the atmosphere. Because it was certain things that I would be afraid of happening that never happened to nobody in my family. It was just I feel like the atmosphere, or like because I do feel like we carry not just traits of our ancestors, but they pass along their fears and their traumas. And I feel like, and this is very vulnerable to share because all of this is like real. I remember one time we lived in a weekly section, because right, I'm from south side of Newark. And we moved around a lot. I lived on Avon. I lived on Vassar. Oh fuck, why am I telling y'all everything? Hey, hold on. I lived on Avon. I lived on Vassar. I lived on shit. It's not the damn number. It's pretty long. By I lived on started off on Renner Avenue. I lived on Renner Avenue. I lived on Avon. We lived on Weekway. We lived and we moved around a lot. I even moved down south and back and forth. So that was just the thing of uncertainty. I don't know. There's no stability here. I don't know what is next for me. I cannot even, my mind cannot even plan what tomorrow is if I am packing up my things and getting into a van and just leaving and leaving and leaving and moving. And I understand it now as I get older what that was and what just making sense of all that. But I feel like as an adult now, looking at my child self, like, of course, it was always hard for me to stay consistent with things. Of course, I struggled with maintaining and bonding relationships because in my mind, everything is temporary. Like, I make friends at this school, but I knew, like, I just was always very open minded. I wasn't always expecting to move, but I was always very open minded to, I'm I'm probably not gonna stay. So I would make friends and then move. That was always a thing within my friendships. Like, oh, it was like, oh, I miss you so much. You're moving. I would go to class and I'd be like, y'all, this is my last day. Like that was my lifestyle growing up. Just always moving and changing schools. It wasn't just about moving, but it was also about changing schools. Um, and then, like I said, in these environments, there was always something going down. Like it was I'm not gonna, it was some moments of like just peace and things just kind of like regular for sometimes, but just when you thought that nothing was gonna happen, that was the night that it happened and it went down. Now I grew up in a very in a household. I told you guys that's a couple of people. I think like 6, 7. Um, and my brothers, they were always getting into it, whatever. But like, what was the most triggering and just heavy that I lived with an alcoholic and I lived with an enabler and I also lived with just the mess of that, right? Someone being drunk, coming home, doing what they want to do, being, abusive, verbally, physically, all that. But like I said, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but mind you, as a child and just growing up, like I was never abused or hurt, but I my trauma was being around that energy, hearing certain things, the door slamming, and that's why I'm also just sensitive to noise because you know it's just like I used to be like somebody, and even to this day I see when somebody's like really slamming and being aggressive with a door, I'm just like, can you calm down, like or what's going on in the other room? Like I'm just trying to make sure I'm extra careful and I'm extra just let me make sure that so I grew up in an abusive home environment. I'm not gonna sit here, like I said, I'm not gonna sit up here and excuse anybody's actions, but I'm also not gonna exaggerate it. Like it was not cute at all. It was not healthy. That was not a healthy or stable home living environment. And I feel like it triggered my death anxiety because, and among other things, I'm gonna keep getting into it. But when you have an environment where like something's going down, like somebody's cursing or they're being loud or throwing things and they're damaging the throwing things around, damaging the TV, damaging the computer. You wake up and you come in the living room and it's a hot ass mess, and or you're just hearing that. I used to always hear everything. Like I used to be so, it would make me so afraid even in my own home, which is never okay for a child, never okay for anybody. Your home's supposed to be your sanctuary, your safe space, a place of love, of healing, of happiness, and just being seen, heard, and understood and valued, and just like, but that just was not the case with me and or my home situation, and we all had to deal with it, not just me but my other siblings and my mom, like yeah. So with that being said, that just triggered in me like this fear of this alertness. You imagine you sleeping, you just hearing and listen, you're like, yo, what the fuck? You clench up. I used to always cry and of course not do nothing because I mean I wasn't one of them bold little children that was just like, don't do that and this that and that. I was scared, like I was terrified nights. and it was so spontaneous. It was always unexpected. Even when you would think like everybody's having a good time, and we went out to the park and we had a cookout, we had a good time, and then just boom, explosiveness and just violence in the home. And that already put this alert and this anxiety on me, and then just this like panicked energy of just like I didn't necessarily feel like I couldn't trust anybody, but I just felt like afraid of my life. Like, this something could happen to me. Would it just put in my head this kind of like folder of like endless possibilities of like what could end up happening next, where I didn't get rest, I didn't get sleep, and I was just afraid. So that really triggered my anxiety generally, but pushing to death anxiety, right? Because you don't know like what somebody is capable of, especially with them being under the influence. So I never knew what would go down. I never knew what could happen. So I was just afraid. Like I said, I used to cry and crawl up in a ball and just like keep the anxiety there. It would just be sitting. We would not talk about it. We would not express anything. The next day, it rolled over, swept under the rug. Typical black family shit. But it's like, no, it's not just down to black people, but unhealthy shit. I know it's people from all walks of life that deal with, just toxic and chaotic households. I know that's not like a color thing, but we know we be dealing with that a lot in our community, where just like there is lack of the therapy and accountability and stuff like that. So that triggered it. And then my environment where I'm from, hearing gunshots and hearing, this person, that person died, this person, Amber Alert, got kidnapped, whatever. It was also a couple of times where I had to do things by myself. I had to walk by myself. I had to take my brothers to school by myself. And this would just make me feel, it was just like I feel like the word I'm looking for is like a gruesome energy in the atmosphere. Like, it just, if you're from North, you could feel on certain blocks how they feel. I've always been an empath and I always knew, which was crazy also, because it's like, girl, your intuition is always saving your life down, but you scared. Like, uh, so when it came to my death anxiety, like, just giving an example of like how I used to be just so afraid. Like, I used to think that, I don't know, like anything, the worst case scenario could happen. Like, I used to just be afraid out of nowhere. Like, this is like things that our mind kind of creates, but based off of like the our atmosphere, our upbringing, and what we experience in our home. I just think people was gonna come into my house and shoot at it. I remember we used to live in a house, and my room was the only room that was facing that had a window facing the front way, other than the living room that was downstairs. So it was like an upstairs, and my room was um, upstairs, and downstairs was the living room where it was windows facing the front way, and my window was facing the front way. And I kid you not, like, it was the 60, 70 riots. I thought somebody was going to come by and shoot in my window and try to kill me. Like, I really was petrified. Like, you couldn't tell me. Like, I just would have like, and this is all, I never talked to nobody about my anxiety. I never talked to anybody really about my anxiety for real. I think I had like bits of conversations with my sister just about our anxiety and why we get so triggered, just because of, the abuse in the home living situation. That's one thing. But like, my death anxiety really, and like, skyrocketed, came 2019, when it was the pandemic. Everybody was just dying left and right. And like, what will devastate me so much, this is why I used to be, and I don't know, I'm working on it, because it's like, girl, how you gonna try to be a civil rights attorney and you sensitive to dark shit? But I used to not, I couldn't stand looking at news. I couldn't stand when my mom, because she and my stepfather, they're like really into like FBI files, and like the police stuff on TV, like when they're arresting the people and all that. And I used to hate when they had that on because I just be like, why y'all watching this? Like, this is so dark. This is so, like, I don't, the energy of it, like, it's like I go out in the world and in my reality and I'm seeing all of it anyway. And then I come home and this was on the damn TV. It interrupted my spirit and my peace, like just hearing it. And y'all know how, like, the scandals and the files and the FBI files, you know how scandalous they voice be, and then they cut up the body and put it in the toilet. Like, that's my scary movie. That was my scary movie. I was not fazed by scary movies growing up. That right there. So just hearing that, all of these things put together really caused me to be so fearful. And especially when something was like highlighted. So I talked about 2019 where like it was a pandemic, everybody was dying left and right. Rest in peace. Also, if you know anybody who passed away from COVID. And then like the rapper, like really big people. I remember Kobe went. I don't know the order, forgive me, but I know Kobe went, and then Pop Smoke, and then what I'll do is, and I remember that, and I don't even want to say her name, but I think it's, I don't want to butcher it. It's Kanika Johnson or Jenkins, and like her body in the freezer. That was like this big thing, and that traumatized me just hearing about it. And then like it's, when it comes to taboo subjects, that's so Scorpio like, right? You get obsessed and hooked into it, like, oh my god, what happened? And I understand why people are into it, like, which is so crazy because I've started to kind of watch like police body cams because I'm just like, this is actually kind of, I see the interest in this and why people watch this. But when I was younger, I was terrified and it was traumatizing. But when those major stories would come out, that would raise my death anxiety even more because it was just, I would fixate on it. Like, I would be so, like, into it. Like, it's like reading this stuff, watching it, they like, that was, at that time, everybody was coming out with stories about that, YouTube videos. People was talking to her spirit, and I was just like, kind of sucked into it. Like, when it come to like those major stories like that, like, and then it just makes me feel like I absorb it in a way where I feel it so much where I'm just like, that could be me. That could be me. Somebody, I remember there was a big story where like friends got into a car crash. That whole year I was afraid to get in the car with my friends. And when I was in the car with my friends, I used to be going through it. I used to be so afraid in the inside, and I would conceal it and nobody knew. Like, I'm just like, they having a good time, but I'm praying over this car OD. I'm praying over this car OD because I'm kind of traumatized. I remember even like, honestly, a little bit of it is my problem because I easily absorb it. Other people, they could be very insensitive or desensitized to it. I absorb it. I put it. It's about. I connect with it in a way where it's like, girl, it's not you. This is not gonna happen to you. I definitely had to, outgrow some things because I remember when this boy in my school, and I hope he's doing okay. He had a seizure, and I promise you, like for weeks straight, I could not sleep, and I was so afraid that I was going to have a seizure. That shit don't even run in me. I never had one before. Like, girl, how was you going to, like, looking back at myself, I'm like, girl, what? But, thinking of it from just the mind of a child and just hugging my younger self, like, I was traumatized. I was afraid. I'd never seen anything like that. So I'm just like, oh my God, what if that happens to me? So it just made me afraid. It made me like, ooh. And then this trickles down to life. I'm afraid to take leaps of faith. I'm afraid to, do this. I'm afraid to leave toxic and unhealthy people. I'm afraid to see what else is out there. Like that, it would trickle down. I see my foundation getting on. I gotta hurry up and finish this video because I gotta catch that store. So I get me my bead. But yeah, y'all. So I just used to be afraid. I used to be very timid, and I used to just, It made me afraid of life. It made me of taking courageous leaps out for myself. And it just made me feel like I was doomed. I feel like a lot of people can resonate with that, especially when you grow up in like the hood and around just violence and chaos. Like, girl, I'm trying to make it to another day, and you're talking about what's your 10-year plan. I don't know if I'm gonna be alive. You know, like I was. Nobody knew about this. I still never talked. So this gonna be news to you. You can see the title of the video, like death anxiety. Yes, I used to struggle with death anxiety down. Like I'm talking just afraid of everything, afraid of life, afraid to do this, afraid to do that. So, what was the cope within this, right? How did I cope with the anxiety? What do I do to cope now when I'm feeling just very afraid or just overthinking anything? Um, I definitely feel like everything goes back to 2019 and me starting a business, being a tarot reader, and it was when I just started um, moving out. When I moved out on my own, like leaving just toxic situations. I feel like I was holding on to people out of just like fear of like, oh my God, I've been around these people. I don't care how they acting. What am I gonna do, right? Just being afraid to live and stand out on my own. But I started doing that because I kind of felt like life gave me no choice. It was just like, girl, you're gonna have to stand up for yourself. You're gonna have to stand up to these people. You're gonna have to try something different. So my battle with death anxiety kind of crumbled when I started to embrace what it meant to just be brave and courageous and stand out on my own, and owning it, right? It's not, and going through life situations. So those challenges and obstacles through life and how I would react to them, it was a lot of moments where I just had to be very brave and see how God was going to come through for me. So it was a couple of times where my chest was clenched. And then God was like, girl, I was just playing with you. And I was like, don't do that. And no, it did not go like that. That was the lighter version of it. But yes, when I was going through life and my own trials and tribulations, that really taught me like to trust in God. And it's just like, you are protected, and just like looking at it at a lens view, like I am a very protected individual. I am very safe. Like, you're safe. Owning that. Like, why? I had to have that realization with myself. Like, why even think that would be put in certain situations where you had to be afraid? Anything you're going through is either a lesson to make me better, to make me stronger, but it's not, I'm never in harm's way. And I see it be testified so many times throughout my life. From 2019 to 2020, 2022 is where I feel like that kind of really just kind of dismantled. I just started getting more confident. I started pursuing certain things. I started, I don't know, I just developed the confidence and the backbone and that trust within God and that reassurance to the point where it's like, what am I afraid of? If that's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Like I'm just saying, I really went from like constantly thinking about how I would die, what was gonna happen if I died. Like, am I gonna get in a car accident? Am I going to fall off a cliff? Is somebody gonna stab me? And like constantly. And then it just got to a point where it's just I became so ambitious and happy about my life, present with my connections, present with life, confident in my pursuits and what I was going after, and just seeing it's just been too many times where God helped me, where God spared me, where God protected me, and I couldn't even see the protection in the time, but I was so angry and mad, like, what's going on? Like, why is this not happening? Why is this, why? And it's like, just seeing that and learning from it. Like, so when I come across situations, I'm like, I see this for what it is. It's not gonna bother me. It's not gonna get me feeling no type of way. I feel like a lot of my own spiritual practices. I do a lot of like, well, I'm not about to sit up here and act like I'll be every day. That's just not the case. But I'm one of those occasional but pulled on, called on to meditate people. But yeah, getting grounded within myself, and I feel very fearless. Like I could walk up in anybody's hood and just walk like I own it. What am I scared of you for? At the end of the day, we had the same flesh, we bleed the same blood. Like I'm not. It's just made me. I don't know, the things that I tackle by myself has just made me so strong and so confident. So it's just like I don't. My mind does not immediately go to doom. It goes to success. It goes to what I'm looking forward to, what I believe in for myself. Like it just goes to that, or just enjoying the present moment. How can I enjoy right now? We rob ourselves of what we can enjoy when we constantly fester and really think about like, oh my god, I'm about to die. Oh my god, this gonna happen. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I'm telling y'all, like, I know I'm a pretty girl, and y'all probably like, like just don't judge a book by its cover. Like you would never know that I deal with something or really feel some type of way about something just based off of my looks. Like that don't mean shit. It's I'm a real nigga under here. Period. I done seen some shit, been through some shit, and it just made me stronger. And it made me feel to. It just made me kill that thought in my head that somebody's after me or that I'm leaving this earth anytime soon. Like, and don't get me wrong, listen, God, listen. If you want to take the kid, say no. It's ghetto on this bitch anyway. It's like no. I don't know. It's finding your happiness. It's finding your why. It's finding something that drives you and it makes you passionate. And I'm just so proud of myself when I reflect back on that person that I used to be, afraid, timid, not going after anything, not chasing any goals, not taking leaps of faith. Um, Not standing up to the people that are mistreating her. Like that's just not the person that I am anymore. Like I've grown to be like, I don't care who you are, I'm gonna press you. I don't care who you are, I'm going to stand up for myself. I don't care if you're my mom, I don't care if you're my dad, I don't care. Like I'm just the strength that I have within the relationship with my own self is just, it's I'm really about me. Yeah. So it's just like I learned to calm my mind. So let's get into the exercises. I don't want this to be too much of a long video, but I want to get into some exercises that I do to calm my mind. I really don't deal with anxiety at a high point anymore, just generally, and I don't deal with death anxiety at all. Like I'm never thinking I'm going to die like ever, and I'm telling you that shit used to be like on a daily basis. So some things that I like to do is taking a step back and breathing. So whenever something is triggering me to like feel a kind of way, I just center and I take a step back away from it, and I'm breathing. Don't sleep on how breathing could be very helpful to you. So I breathe, just relax. I will tell myself like relax. And oh, one of my favorite things is affirmation. I tell myself that's not going to happen. Because like I said, when you have anxiety, it's so easy to create scenarios in your head that are so dramatic and that don't even make no sense. And it does make sense to you, but it's just like, girl, that's not happening. It's about I claim it. Whenever that fear creeps up or that anxiety, that word creeps up, I it's like putting it back down. Like, girl, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. No, I immediately learned to start rejecting it and saying, no, that's not gonna happen. No, 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 I'm focused on this right now. I've learned to be more in control of my mental and my mind and just what's on my mind, and not just letting it lead me astray just because something in the news triggered it or something in my past um, just kind of came in my head. Another thing I do to calm my anxiety down is I like to stretch. So whenever we have energy, so I was talking about that too, how like when I was a child, I would curl up in a ball in my bed and just like compress all of that fear that was sitting there. And whenever I'm afraid or anxious or I have a lot of anxiety, I stretch my body out because it's just energy. Like when that lights up in you and you feel that, it's about, you know, getting it out. And a lot of this goes to acknowledging it, to just be like, damn, I'm really worried right now. I just hope this goes well. So I would stretch my body and stretch it out because that's just what it is. It's a mental thing and it's an energy thing. It's like you can physically move this energy out of your body and not have it just stored and sitting there. That's why people say when you're doing a speech, like tap your toe, or um, that's why people fidget with things, because it's like, ooh, I got so much energy, I don't know what to do with this. But it's about exerting it in other ways, healthy ways. So I like to stretch. Um, and another thing I used to do, um, it's like taking stretching to another level. So just setting a attention with it, being like, I release fear and anxiety and worry, and I would center with a tree. And look at me giving all my secrets. I would center with a tree and just like stretch in front of it, and just like, you know, give the earth, you know, let it kill off and give the earth what is burdening me. And I would, you know, stretch up to the sun and call on. So yeah, maybe I was doing a little magic to get rid of this, but with the natural elements and just myself and what I, you know, believe in. It's about your mind and your intellect and in your beliefs, right? And then I would stretch up to the sun, and you know, I would say I call in sureness and just peace within my mind and peace within my body. So I called on these things and I affirmed it for myself. And I was stretching a lot. Um, that was 2022. And like I said, that was the last time I really dealt with like really bad anxiety. And then I go put my mind to something else. Because sometimes when I'm worried or just like, ooh, waiting for something, and you know, you get that little leg shake, you got energy, you got to go exert it somewhere. So I would go and whether it's go for a walk, go to the gym. What else would I do? Go paint, go draw, go put my mind somewhere else so it does not lead to me worrying about the worst possibility in the worst case scenario. Um, And I do want to talk about it, how like people can influence your energy and trigger your anxiety and your deaf anxiety a lot. So I've also learned that getting away from certain people and certain environments has tremendously helped my deaf anxiety too, because I've realized like, damn, I only get this way and feel this way when I'm around this set of people and this group of people and over here, because I don't feel connected to it. When I feel anxiety, I either like, and especially around people, um, I know what I do and don't feel safe around. Like if I don't feel safe around you, I'm not gonna be around you. If I don't feel safe to tell you things, I'm not gonna tell you things. And I just listen to my body, because I've just noticed, yeah, when I get and when I moved away from certain people, or when I got away from certain people, I didn't absorb their energy anymore, because I'm an empath. I'm a Cancer. Y'all can sit up there and say they don't mean shit, but it do, because it's water, so we feel things. And I couldn't well believe I was picking up a lot of other people, somebody else's deaf anxiety and their worries. And this extends to just like insecurities and just feeling unworthy and feeling not good enough. All of that, we can pick up all of that, especially if you're an empath. So it's just about learning. I had to learn my body and learn like just the sensitivity around other people and how they were influencing my energy, when I would feel out of myself, and how that would trigger just me being afraid. And now I live a very like, I'm not gonna like y'all know how like them valley girls, they be so, or just rich girls, they just be so in their own world and just like there's not a care in the world. I act like that in the hood. Them means that they be on the corner looking at me like, because I babysit in the hood, y'all. So they be looking at me like, this girl singing to the top of her lungs, singing, having like a little activity music could sometimes chill me out because I just be in my vibe. Like, what the fuck am I scared for if I'm bringing my world here and everywhere with me? That's why music to me is so important, and sounds and instruments. Because also I would go to that when I would feel those intense energies of just being afraid of the worst of the worst. But and claim your reality. I'm right here, I'm right now, and I'm gonna enjoy this shit. It's already enough that bad or challenging things happen. I'm gonna create more. That just is so backwards. It's like I'm gonna create more things to worry about, and things are already happening. So I'm just double not enjoying life. That don't sound like that don't sound too enjoyable. I think I'm gonna enjoy this right here, and then if that's to happen, I'm gonna tackle that and face that head on. Like, that's just my mindset now. But I hope you guys learned something from this video. I really appreciated recording this, and the other video I did, if you do see that I have the same sweater on, is because I recorded both of these not back to back, but in the same day. Like, I'm in like a row right now of just sharing what I know and just being transparent about, like, we all deal with these things. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I know y'all probably got some stories about what's going in your head with your death anxiety, and it's valid, but you can't let it consume you. You have to take back control of your life. You have to live your life, and you have to sometimes just do things because you just feel to do it and you want to do it, and not hold back because you're afraid of, oh my God, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. Like, no, get that out of your cat. That's not even on my vocabulary anymore. My friend be saying that, like, I'm scared. I'm like, get that out your vocabulary. Like, you could be, yes, real feelings. You could be a little bit uneasy about something, but to say, sure, you're scared or you're afraid, like, those are just vocabulary words that we don't use those over here. It's, there's a lot of things that I be nervous about, but I'm gonna tackle it. I'm going to, you know, just head on it. At the end of the day, there's no running away from what ends up happening. It was meant to happen. Whether we like it or not, whether it's comfortable or not, whether it's worth grieving or not, it's going to happen anyway. I love myself so much, and I trust my God so much, where it's just like, I'm going to, I want to be happy. You cannot be ever happy, constantly worrying, constantly in a state of anxiety, especially death anxiety. You're not living your life. And I remember just making a promise to myself that I'm going to live my life. I'm going to be here right now. So that's all it bottles down to, be right here. Because when you're overthinking, you somewhere all the way over there, and you're not in the moment right now. Like, be here. Show up for your life right now. Show up for what feels good to you right now. What do you want to enjoy while you are here? You want to spend your whole life thinking about what's gonna go wrong, how you gonna die, and it's just going by, tick, 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 and you ain't do shit. You don't want that. I didn't want that. So I had to learn. And like I said, the biggest thing for me was my life challenges of stepping out on my own and just gaining so much self-confidence that made me look at death anxiety and anxiety like, girl, I done already been through some shit and I didn't even think of it. And I got through it. So if I gotta deal with that, I know that with my willpower and my God, I'm gonna get through it. Period. But thank y'all so much for watching this video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see y'all in another.